Hi, this is Bethany from Morgan James Publishing, and today I'm speaking with our author, Carolyn Hardy. And Carolyn is the author of Step Out: Bold Moves for Business Growth. Hi, Carolyn, how are you?
Hey Bethany, how are you?
I'm doing so well, and it's such a pleasure to be connected with you today. I'm so excited to talk about your new book, and congratulations on the new book launch. I'd love to just dive in and ask you some questions about the book. And first thing I'd love to ask is, why did you decide to write this book?
Bethany, I know a lot of business people, young business people, and I had a session with about 20 young entrepreneurs who really had a thirst for what are some of the challenges I'm going to face when I try to grow my company or when I launch my companies. What are the things I need to know? And it was like a 1 hour session. And there was no way I could answer all of their and meet all their needs in 1 hour. And so I left there feeling like, here I have an audience that has a real desire to go to that next level. And I didn't feel that I gave them everything they needed. And it's impossible to run a business and give another business everything that they need. So I decided, I said, you know what? Why don't I take my experience and put it in Step Out? And each one of the chapters in Step Out is designed to answer those young entrepreneurs' requirements. So you'll find, Step Out talking about legal. How do you finance your growth? What are some of the marketing challenges you run into? What are some of the human resource challenges you run into? So I tried to take all those needs and address it in Step Out. And I'm hoping that I'm making an impact on the next generation. I'm hoping that I leave my legacy
Mm.
by helping
I
others.
think a book is such an amazing way to do that. And I totally get what you're saying as far as not being able to cover everything in just 1 hour. It's
No,
just not possible.
it's not
And a book
possible.
is such a fantastic way um, to have those resources and to be able to digest that information and apply it at a rate that makes the most sense for the reader. And so I'd love to also ask, really who you wrote this book for. I think you touched on that just briefly, but could you talk about who you wrote this book for and why that's important to you?
If you look at an entrepreneur who's between 30 and 50, um, who has been in business for a few years, 2 to 5 years, whose business has grown and went back, grown and went back down, grown and went back down, and they can't seem to get a growth that's a spike.
Mhm.
You want a spike. Um, it's for that business owner who has at least tried to grow, and they ran up against a brick wall, and they didn't understand how to remove that barrier. That's the person that should read this book because they'll find that I ran up into the same barriers, but I also found alternatives to get a run around that barrier. And and has not been as successful as they think they should have been, who's ready to try new things. They've
Mhm.
got to be ready.
Gotta be ready. Wow. Could you talk a little bit about some takeaways that readers are going to get that will help their businesses grow? Obviously, we don't want to give away the whole book because we want
Right.
people to come read, but could you maybe just give us a couple of takeaways that people
Well,
are going to find?
one of the takeaways that I want the reader to really embrace is that they need what I call transformational business change,
Mm.
not transactional business change. Transformational business change is change that transforms you to another level. Okay. Transactional business is where something happens, you jump in, you solve it, and it's solved for today. But it really doesn't leap you into the future, the growth that you deserve. And so I want the reader to really understand transformational. How do I put in processes that are transformational? how do I get the working capital that's transformational? How do I put in the business processes and also hire the right people that is transformational? So I want the reader to really think transformational. Also, I want them to understand that to grow, you've got to be bold. In other words, walk into that room with that group with fear in your heart, but hope in your heart and desire in your heart and the will to say, I am going in here and I'm going to come out with that sale. You've got to be bold. You can't let fear stop you. And you'll see and step out all the bold moves that I made. And, I was afraid, just like that next person. Uh, Everyone's afraid of the unknown. But at the same time, I knew that I could not go to that next level without being bold. And so that's really important. The third thing my daughter loves to say is that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. A closed mouth does not get fed. So you need to let people know what you're thinking. You need to let people know, your customers, your prospects, or whomever, your attorney, your banker. They need to understand, what your desires are. You need to be very articulate. You need to have thought it through. You need to help them understand how it connects to your end game. But a closed mouth doesn't get fed. You need to make sure you're communicating to the right people. Also, you need to communicate it to your team. If you don't articulate to your team where you're going, why you're going there, how can they support you? And so I want the reader to be bold. I want them to think transformational, not transactional. And I want them to understand a closed mouth don't get fed. The reader has to be willing to learn from the mistakes of others. A lot of people think they already know it, but there's nothing wrong with finding fresh ideas and new ideas that you didn't think of. But I invite readers to take step out, and they can take any idea that's in this book and they can claim it as their own, as long as it grows their business.
Can you hold it up a little bit higher? Because one of the things, yeah, oh, there we go. And one of the things I love about this book is the size. It's so approachable. There's clearly a lot of meat and hearty good content, but it's also going to be a book that someone can really work into their schedule to read.
Right.
So I think that's so important about how you wrote this book, how it was all created.
Brittany, one of the things I want the reader to understand is that you look at the chapters and Step Out. Each chapter stands on its own. A novel, you have to read it from beginning to end to really get the concept. Okay. But when I wrote this book, I wanted to make sure that if you had an issue, that you can simply read that chapter.
Could you tell me what some of the chapters are called, or some of the topics?
Well, give you an example. Timing is everything. Timing is everything. Will tell you that you had the right time, you just showed up at the right time, you just got lucky. Um, Another one is make up your mind. People tend to be indecisive. How do you make a decision? Roll over or roll out. This is when somebody's stepping all over you. And we talk about being bold. But how do you roll over but not roll out necessarily? Your customer is really giving you a hard time. They're challenging you on everything, but you don't want to lose the customer. So the power is in people. The power is in people. Sell with your heart. Sell with your heart. Show me the money. Everybody's got money issue. You grow, you're gonna need money, right? Chapter called Growing Pains. What kind of growing pains are you going to experience? Speak up. Remember I said a closed mouth don't get fed? I have a chapter called Speak Up. Providing the right equipment. If you're going to grow, and I was just talking to someone on the phone about that, you've got to make sure that your people have the right tools to do the job. And what are those right tools to do that job? Signing on the dotted line. You know how we sign the dotted line and we say, oh heck, what did I just sign? And too many contracts or you get desperate. Signing in desperation is not the way to sign an opportunity. leading the way. How do you find the right role models? When you're trying to grow your business, you need mentors and you need role models, people that's going to help you go from A to B, who can give you the right guidance. Everybody wins. How do you ensure that everybody wins? That's just a few of the chapters in Step Out, but each one of these chapters will give you a wealth of advice that you'll say, oh my God, I had that problem. I can use that opportunity. Why didn't I think of that?
Mm.
That is what I want you to feel when you read Step Out.
Mm. Amazing, Carolyn. Well, I feel like I could ask you a million more questions about your experience and the content in your book. And if readers want to learn more about you or about the book, or if they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to find you online or to connect with you?
I am readily available on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook at carolynchisholmhardy.com. Um, and I always answer my LinkedIn communication. Uh, I do quite a few panels on entrepreneurship, on growing your business, starting a business. So if you follow me on Facebook, you'll find out where I'll be talking next, and you'll have opportunity here or even ask questions.
Amazing. Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for spending some time today with me talking about your new book. We're so excited and so eager for readers to get their hands on it so they can apply all these valuable lessons in their own businesses and their own entrepreneurial journeys. It's such an interesting time right now as businesses are learning to navigate new times, and there's some really practical, tried and true best practices, and really some heartfelt advice that you share in these pages. So we're just so excited to see this book out and available to readers. And thank you so much for spending some time with me today to talk about Step
Well,
Out.
Brittany, I want to say that this will be the young entrepreneurs or the not so seasoned entrepreneurs' best investment in 2021. I'm telling them for a very small book fee, they will have all the advice they can possibly need.
Mm.
So go out, order Step Out. You won't be sorry. Be bold.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Okay. Bye bye.